Good morning, everyone. We all have dreams. We've all had those moments where we close our eyes, sigh, and think, if only I had the right opportunity, if only I had more time, if only I could just get a little break. We spend so much of our lives wishing for things to be different, hoping that something will change. But today I want to tell you something: wishing doesn't change anything. Action does. There's nothing wrong with dreaming. In fact, it's where everything begins. But the real power doesn't come from just imagining a better life. It comes when you decide to step into it, one action at a time. Because let me tell you, waiting for the perfect moment to start, whether it's a new business, a new relationship, a healthier lifestyle, will keep you stuck in the same place. That perfect moment we're all hoping for. It may never come. The shift happens when you take that first step. It doesn't have to be a leap. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Sometimes it's as simple as making a phone call, writing down a plan, or waking up an hour earlier. These small actions, when taken consistently, add up to big change. The dream is the seed, but the doing is the soil, the water and the sunlight that helps it grow. We all have the power to choose our path. We have the power to stop wishing and start doing. I know it's easier said than done. Life has a way of throwing roadblocks in our path: work, family obligations, fear, doubt. But understand this: your future is built on the choices you make today, not the circumstances you find yourself in. You get to choose to step out of that cycle of if only and start creating your right now. And then there's fear. How many of us are held back by the fear of failure? Fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. But let me tell you, fear is not your enemy. Fear is simply a signal that you're on the verge of something new, something bigger than yourself. Instead of letting fear stop you, let it propel you. Because beyond that fear is where your true power lies. When you confront it, when you push past it, that's where the magic happens. Now, I want you to think about this. What if you stopped waiting for things to be perfect and started doing what you can right now with what you have? Because success isn't just about reaching a destination, it's about the journey, the daily commitment to show up, take action, and keep moving forward, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when it feels like you're not making progress. So today I challenge you to stop wishing and start doing. Make a commitment to yourself. Take one step, and then another, because the life you're dreaming of, it's waiting for you, just beyond the limits of what you think is possible. When we dream, we engage in the beautiful act of envisioning a different, better reality. We imagine ourselves in a place of fulfillment, happiness, success, or peace. But dreaming alone, while inspiring, keeps us in a state of longing. It's comforting to dream. Because it feels good, it gives us hope. It stirs our souls. It makes us believe that something more is possible. But the truth is, dreams remain intangible until we choose to take action. The shift from dreaming to action is not always easy, but it is necessary. The dream is the spark, but action is what turns that spark into a flame. Dreaming allows us to see the potential in our lives, but action forces us to face the reality of what it takes to get there. There's a gap between where we are and where we want to be, and action is the bridge that gets us across. Without it, we stay stuck on one side, wishing, hoping, and waiting. Often the hardest part of this shift is the beginning. We think of our dreams as something far off, something that requires a perfect set of circumstances. We say to ourselves, I'll start when I have more money, more time, more support, or more confidence. We believe that we need everything to align before we can take that first step. But waiting for the perfect moment keeps us in a cycle of inaction. The perfect moment rarely comes. And the truth is, it's in the doing that we become ready, that we grow, and that we create the opportunities we think we're waiting for. Action doesn't have to be grand or overwhelming. It can be small, even quiet. It's not always about taking a giant leap sometimes. It's just about moving forward an inch. It's about doing the next right thing, making the next best decision. Each small action brings you closer to your goal, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. Progress happens in those seemingly insignificant moments when you choose to do something rather than nothing. When we shift from dreaming to action, we also open ourselves up to a world of learning. Inaction keeps us in a state of comfort, but action, especially imperfect action, teaches us more than we could ever learn by simply thinking about what could be. Through action, we discover what works and what doesn't. We gain clarity about what we truly want and what we're capable of. We may stumble, we may fail, but every step we take brings us closer to where we need to be. There's something else that happens when we take action. We build momentum. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to start something, but once you get going, it becomes easier? That's because action creates energy. It moves us out of the stagnant space of dreaming and into a dynamic state of creation. Once you take that first step, the second one doesn't seem so hard, and then the third and the fourth. Before you know it, you've made progress, you've built confidence, and your dream starts to feel less like a distant fantasy and more like something within reach. But perhaps the most powerful thing about shifting from dreaming to action is that it transforms your sense of self. Dreaming is passive. It allows us to remain in a place of longing, waiting for something external to change. Action, on the other hand, is empowering. When you take action, no matter how small, you're telling yourself, I can do this. I have the power to change my life. You begin to see yourself not as a bystander in your own story, but as the author of it. You take ownership of your future. It's easy to get lost in the idea of what could be. But if we want to create real, lasting change, we must move from thinking about the life we want to living it. Dreams are important. They guide us, they inspire us, but action is what makes them real. It's the doing, the effort, the commitment that turns possibility into reality. And that shift from dreaming to action is the difference between wishing for a better life and creating one. Embracing the power of choice is about recognizing the profound influence we have over our lives, even when it doesn't always feel like it. So often we go through life feeling like we're at the mercy of our circumstances, thinking that our past, our environment, or our challenges dictate our future. But the truth is, while we cannot always control what happens to us, we always have control over how we respond to it. The choices we make in those moments of response are what shape the course of our lives. Choice is one of the most empowering concepts in the human experience. It is through our choices that we express our values, define our identity, and craft our path. And yet it's easy to underestimate the power of choice. Sometimes we think that big choices, the ones that seem life-altering, are the only ones that matter. But in reality, it's often the small, everyday choices that build the foundation for a meaningful life. Choosing to wake up early and pursue a goal, choosing to approach a challenge with a positive mindset, or choosing to forgive rather than hold a grudge, these are the choices that quietly but consistently shape who we are. One of the most difficult aspects of embracing the power of choice is accepting responsibility for the life we are creating. It's tempting to blame our circumstances, the people around us, or events from our past for where we are now. And while those things can certainly have an impact, they don't have to dictate our future. When we recognize that we always have a choice, we take back the power we may have given away. We stop seeing ourselves as victims of our circumstances and start seeing ourselves as agents of change. This can be a challenging shift because it comes with a level of accountability. But with that accountability comes freedom, the freedom to create the life we truly want. It's important to understand that every choice, no matter how small, contributes to the bigger picture of our lives. The cumulative effect of our decisions creates momentum. Sometimes we make choices that feel insignificant in the moment, not realizing that over time those decisions either bring us closer to or farther from the life we desire. This is why being intentional with our choices matters. When we live on autopilot, letting life happen to us, we miss the opportunity to direct our path. But when we choose deliberately, when we pause, reflect, and decide with intention, we steer our lives in the direction we truly want to go. Choosing intentionally also means understanding that not making a choice is in fact a choice. When we allow fear or indecision to paralyze us, we are still making a decision to stay where we are, to remain stuck in the status quo. It's easy to get caught in the trap of thinking that we don't know what the right choice is, and as a result, we do nothing. But inaction is still a decision. And the longer we delay making choices, the longer we postpone our growth and progress. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing the power of choice is the realization that every day we have the opportunity to make new choices. We don't have to be defined by our past decisions. We may have made mistakes, taken wrong turns, or missed opportunities, but each day presents a new set of options, a new chance to choose differently. This is where the power of choice becomes transformative, when we recognize that we are never stuck, that as long as we are alive, we have the ability to change direction. It's a liberating thought to know that we can always begin again. Choice also comes into play when we decide how we see the world and ourselves. Our perception is a choice. We can choose to see obstacles or opportunities. We can choose to see ourselves as capable or as limited. We can choose to focus on what we lack or on what we have. These are choices that shape our internal experience, which in turn influences the actions we take. When we choose to adopt a mindset of possibility, we open ourselves up to new opportunities and solutions that we might not have seen otherwise. This shift in perspective is often the key to unlocking our potential and overcoming challenges. But embracing the power of choice doesn't mean it's always easy. Sometimes the choices we face are difficult. Sometimes the right choice is the hardest one to make. But the beauty of choice is that it allows us to align our actions with our values, even when it's uncomfortable. It's in those moments when we make the tough but right decisions that we grow and evolve into the person we're meant to be. In the end, embracing the power of choice is about owning your life. It's about recognizing that no matter what happens, you always have a say in what comes next. It's about choosing to step into the driver's seat and take responsibility for where you're headed. It's about understanding that your life is not a series of random events happening to you, but a result of the choices you make every day. And when you fully embrace that truth, you unlock the potential to create a life that is not only fulfilling, but authentically yours. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience. And for many of us, it feels like an insurmountable barrier that holds us back from our potential. It whispers doubts, plants seeds of insecurity, and magnifies the risks of failure. But the truth is, fear itself is not the problem. It's how we respond to it that determines whether it becomes a roadblock or a stepping stone. Fear, at its core, is not meant to stop us. It's meant to alert us, to wake us up, to signal that something important is on the horizon. It's a natural reaction to the unknown, to the possibility of change, and to stepping outside of our comfort zones. When we understand this, we can begin to see fear not as a wall, but as a doorway to growth. We often misinterpret fear as a sign that we should turn back or stop pursuing what we desire. But if we examine it more closely, fear is often a signal that we're about to do something that matters. It shows up when we're on the verge of stepping into something new, something that could challenge us, stretch us, and ultimately transform us. The very presence of fear is often an indication that we are heading in the right direction. It means that we're pushing the boundaries of what we've known and venturing into uncharted territory. That's where growth happens, right on the edge of fear. Fear is not an obstacle to avoid, it's a signpost pointing to where we need to go. When we think about fear as a roadblock, we imagine it as something that stops us in our tracks, something we have to fight or overcome before we can move forward. But what if we stopped seeing fear as an enemy and started viewing it as a guide? What if instead of shrinking back when fear arises, we leaned into it? Fear doesn't mean we're unprepared or incapable. It means we're human and that we care about what we're doing. The fact that we feel fear is often proof that we are pursuing something worthwhile, something that requires us to show up fully. It's important to recognize that fear is not a predictor of failure. It doesn't mean that if you're afraid, you're going to fail or that you're on the wrong path. Fear and success often go hand in hand. Many of the most successful people, those who achieve great things, will tell you that they feel fear regularly. They don't succeed because they're fearless. They succeed because they choose to act in spite of the fear. They have learned to walk with fear, to acknowledge its presence without letting it dictate their actions. They understand that fear doesn't have to be eliminated for them to move forward. In fact, fear can be a powerful motivator. When we feel fear, it sharpens our senses, heightens our awareness, and focuses our attention. It forces us to consider our actions carefully, to prepare more thoroughly, and to bring our best to the table. It's a tool that, when used correctly, can push us to perform at our highest level. The problem arises when we allow fear to paralyze us, when we let it convince us that taking the risk isn't worth it, or that we're not capable of handling the unknown. But fear can be a companion on the journey, one that reminds us to stay alert, to pay attention, and to respect the challenge ahead without letting it stop us from moving forward. One of the greatest misconceptions about fear is that it will go away once we've reached a certain level of success or experience. Many people think once I achieve this goal, once I have more experience, once I'm more confident, I won't feel afraid anymore. But that's not how it works. Fear is always present when we're growing, when we're pushing beyond what we've known. The key is not to wait for fear to disappear, but to learn to carry it with us, to move forward with fear as a companion rather than an adversary. It's not about becoming fearless, it's about becoming courageous enough to act despite the fear. Fear can also teach us valuable lessons about ourselves. It often reveals our deepest desires and what we truly value. The things we are most afraid of, whether it's failure, rejection, or judgment, are often tied to the things we care most about. When we're afraid of failing, it's because we deeply want to succeed. When we're afraid of being judged, it's because we want to be accepted and valued. Understanding this can help us reframe fear. Instead of seeing it as something negative, we can recognize that it's showing us what matters to us. And when we know what matters, we can use that knowledge to fuel our actions and push through the fear. Fear can also serve as a mirror, reflecting our insecurities and limiting beliefs. It shows us where we lack confidence or where we hold on to doubts about our abilities. But instead of seeing this as something to shy away from, we can view it as an opportunity to grow. Fear highlights the areas where we need to strengthen ourselves, where we need to develop resilience or build trust in our own capabilities. By facing our fears, we can work through those insecurities and come out stronger on the other side. Ultimately, fear is not a roadblock, it's a stepping stone. It's an invitation to rise to the challenge, to step into the unknown, and to become more than we were before. Every time we choose to act in spite of fear, we expand our capacity for courage. We build confidence, not by avoiding fear, but by walking through it. The more we do this, the more we realize that fear doesn't have the power to stop us unless we give it that power. It's our choices, our actions, and our determination that determine whether fear will hold us back or propel us forward. Fear is a natural part of any journey toward growth, change, and achievement. It's not something to eliminate, but something to understand, embrace, and transform. When we stop seeing fear as a roadblock and start seeing it as a companion on the path to success, we unlock our true potential. We learn that fear is not the enemy. In fact, it's often the very thing that leads us to the most meaningful and transformative experiences of our lives. Committing to the journey rather than just the goal is about embracing the process of growth, discovery, and persistence rather than focusing solely on the end result. We live in a world that glorifies success stories and achievements, often reducing the path to victory to a single, shining moment. We see people who have made it, and we think that the goal is the only thing that matters. But the truth is, real success isn't found in the moment we cross the finish line. It's built in the hundreds, if not thousands, of moments along the way. The journey, the daily effort, the lessons learned, the setbacks overcome is where the true transformation happens. Focusing only on the goal creates a kind of tunnel vision. We become so fixated on the result that we miss the richness of the experience that leads us there. When we're obsessed with the destination, we might rush through the process, wanting to get to the end as quickly as possible. But in doing so, we lose the opportunity to grow, to reflect, and to become the kind of person capable of sustaining that success once we achieve it. The journey is where we build the resilience, the skills, and the inner strength that make the goal meaningful. There's something deeply empowering about committing to the journey. It's a recognition that success is not a single event, but a continuous evolution. Goals can often feel overwhelming when viewed from a distance. They can seem too big, too far away, or too difficult to reach. But when you focus on the journey, you break down the goal into manageable steps. It becomes less about achieving everything at once and more about making progress, day by day, step by step. This shift in perspective reduces the pressure to reach perfection immediately and allows you to focus on growth, not just outcomes. The journey also teaches you how to handle adversity. Every worthwhile goal comes with challenges, setbacks, and failures. When you're only focused on the goal, those moments of difficulty can feel like obstacles blocking your path. But when you commit to the journey, you start to see those obstacles as part of the process. They become opportunities for learning and growth. Each setback teaches you something new about your approach, your mindset, or your strategy and gives you the chance to adjust and improve. The journey is where you learn resilience, where you discover that failure is not the opposite of success, but an integral part of it. One of the most valuable aspects of committing to the journey is the personal transformation that occurs along the way. It's not just about reaching a goal, it's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve that goal. The journey challenges you to dig deep, to confront your fears, to push beyond your limits, and to develop the qualities that will serve you not only in this pursuit, but in all areas of your life. This inner growth is what makes the journey so valuable. It's not just about what you accomplish, but about who you become in the process. When you commit to the journey, you also learn the importance of consistency. Success rarely happens overnight. It's the result of showing up every day, putting in the work, and staying focused even when progress feels slow or invisible. The journey teaches you that small, consistent actions add up over time. Each day, each effort, each step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. It's in the accumulation of these actions that real progress is made. This understanding helps you stay patient and persistent, knowing that the results will come if you continue to show up and do the work. The journey is also where you learn to enjoy the process. When you're focused solely on the goal, you may find yourself constantly waiting for the next thing, believing that happiness and fulfillment will only come once you've achieved that goal. But when you commit to the journey, you begin to appreciate the present moment. You start to find joy in the effort, in the growth, in the challenges, and in the incremental progress you make. This shift allows you to experience a sense of fulfillment along the way, rather than postponing your happiness until you've reached the destination. Another important aspect of committing to the journey is learning to adapt. Goals can sometimes shift or evolve as we grow and gain new insights. If we're too rigidly focused on a single goal, we might miss opportunities to pivot, to adjust our course, or to pursue something even more meaningful. The journey teaches us to stay open, to be flexible, and to embrace the unexpected turns that life throws our way. By committing to the process rather than just the outcome, we develop the ability to navigate these changes with grace and resilience. Committing to the journey also fosters a deeper sense of purpose. When we focus only on the goal, our sense of purpose can become tied to achieving that one thing. But when we commit to the journey, our purpose expands beyond the finish line. It becomes about the ongoing pursuit of growth, learning, and contribution. This sense of purpose sustains us even when the goal seems far away or when obstacles arise. It gives us a reason to keep going, not just for the sake of reaching the goal, but because the journey itself is meaningful. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons of committing to the journey is learning to trust the process. We often want immediate results, but true success takes time. The journey requires patience, persistence, and faith. It asks us to trust that, even when we can't see the results yet, the effort we're putting in is moving us forward. Trusting the process means believing in the value of each step, even when progress feels slow or invisible. It's about having confidence that the journey will ultimately lead us to where we need to go, even if the path isn't always clear. In the end, committing to the journey is about embracing the full experience of pursuing your dreams. It's about recognizing that the goal is just one part of the equation, and that the journey, the process of becoming, of learning, of growing, is what makes the goal truly worthwhile. When we commit to the journey, we open ourselves up to the richness of life's experiences. We learn that success is not just about reaching the destination, but about the person we become along the way, the lessons we learn, and the resilience we build. In this way, the journey becomes not just a means to an end, but a rewarding and transformative experience in its own right.